All right, welcome everyone. I am the Dungeon Master, excuse me, and tonight we're going to be going over how to start and get set up using Roll20. We're going to go through the entire process. So I'm going to start an entirely new game, set up a map and some NPCs, and show you guys basically, how to get your game up and running. So, assuming that you guys have already made your Roll20 accounts, you should be able to log into Roll20 and see a home screen that looks like this. You got your account over here. You can go to your account, manage your subscriptions. You can go to your profile. If you go to your profile, you can see some of the basic information, how many posts you've made, how many hours you've played, how many games you're running, all of your achievements. Set your bio. I recommend setting up your bio if you want to be a dungeon master. This is what people are going to take a look at and see. So you're going to want to, have this all set up. As you can see, I've got all of my live streams and games already linked here. And so what we're going to be doing is creating a new game right here. We click on create a new game and it brings you to the start a new game page here. Uh, you're going to need to enter a name for the game. So we're going to call this practice game. And then we don't need to set any of the tags, but we are going to want to choose our character sheet. Now, because of its popularity, I'm going to assume that the vast majority of you are here to run 5th edition. Roll20 has an official Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition sheet right here. I do not use it. I don't use it because I have very specific settings for my display on my computer, and the settings that are required for the Roll20 sheet to look okay doesn't make everything else that I do on my computer look okay. And so, because I don't feel like changing over all the time, I instead scroll down to the Dungeons and Dragons section, and then under 5th edition you'll find community contributed sheet. This is the sheet that I prefer for aesthetic reasons, as I stated before, and also because I can more easily set up my macros and everything. We'll get into macros in a later episode. So for now, you just click on I'm ready, create game. Now, from here, you can choose a file to have as your background. It makes it look nice, but that's not necessary. In order to attract people to your games, you're going to want to set what you're playing. So we're going to once again go down to D&D 5th edition. And then you're going to want to set when your next game will be. And we'll just say that it's going to be today, happening right now. That's obviously not true. It's not going to be a game run right now, but for our purposes, we're just going to set that. Now here you can enter a description. And then you just set whatever description you want there. Save changes. And this is game add-ons. Now, if you have a bunch of stuff purchased, you can go ahead and add it to your game. I don't feel the need to add anything to this game right now. So we're just going to go ahead and launch. And now, as it loads up here, you'll get your first look at what you'll be dealing with. Now, the first thing is Roll20 has it set default to have your chat and everything. I disable all of that. And then it'll reload here real quick. And then I set that to names only so that it's nice and small at the bottom instead of taking up a bunch of real estate there. And then that's really all you need for settings for right now. You just want to go ahead and disable the video and audio chat and use something like Discord or what is that, TeamSpeak or something like that. There's different programs you can use to cover the audio because Roll20's audio has been a bit spotty. No offense against Roll20, it's a great, you know, service that I use constantly for my professional dungeon mastering, and I stand by Roll20 even when I don't agree with everything that they might do. But at the end of the day, they are very much lacking in some areas. They are improving in those areas. For instance, the dynamic lighting, but that's a discussion for another episode. For now, what we're going to do is go ahead and set our page toolbar. So we open that up, and right here on your starting page, you'll see that it sets it at 25 by 25. I go ahead and make that 50 by 50 for now. And then I set my grid to 2.5 feet and half a cell wide. And I do this because when you're dealing with tokens that are smaller than the standard medium 5 foot token, then they all cluster in the upper left hand corner of a 5 foot square. So it makes it difficult to move your tokens into the same square, even though logically two small characters could occupy the same 5 foot square easily. For that reason, I set it at 2.5 feet and half a cell wide. You do not have to do this, but if, like me, you care about aesthetics, you might want to. Now going down, you want to click on dynamic lighting, enforce line of sight, restrict movement, global illumination, and I like to click only update on drop. What that means is that instead of being able to see everything just by picking up their token and dragging it around, the player actually has to move forward step by step, or they only see what they ran into once they set their token down. So we click OK. You'll see all of the squares have been cut in half now, and we have a nice big map. Under the cube here, you'll see all the different layers: maps and background, objects and token, GM info overlay, which is a hidden layer, and dynamic lighting, which is a sort of hidden layer. The things that you do on here will affect the map in certain ways, especially if you put a light source on there. It will light things up. We'll get into that on a later episode as well. For now, we're just going over the basics. So we go to maps and background, and now it is time to upload our map. So we're going to go ahead and go to my downloads folder here, where I have a map by the magnificent Gabriel Picard. Shout out to Gabriel, and everybody should, go and support him on Patreon and buy his maps, and definitely give the man some credit because he has some of the most beautiful maps that I've seen on Roll20, and I use them exclusively. He is absolutely awesome. It'll take just a little bit, as you can see, depending on the speed of your connection. Um, I think, sometimes it's also the fact that I use such large, high definition maps that, causes a little bit of a slowdown. Um, Nothing too bad. It should upload any second now. Usually it stops and then goes real quick. Yeah, here it goes. Just needs a little time to process all that juicy JPEG information. Now, this map has been blown up so big, which happens at times, that I think, yeah, oh no, it might be the right size. So this map should be 15 by 30, I believe. Oh no, 30 by 30. Okay. So what I do is I go and I make sure. Yeah, and don't worry about that blurriness. See, it's 40 by 40 right now. So by setting it to 2100, now it's 30 by 30, and I can move it up into position, and now I can set my map dimensions as 30 by 30 as well. If you already know what size map you're going to be uploading, you can just set it to that right away. But if you don't know, you can just set it to 50 by 50, which is about the largest I recommend any map be, just because it can cause slowdown if you have too big of a map. But now you can see that the map fits perfectly, no overhang. So now the next thing that I like to do, and this is only going to be for the pro subscribers. I don't think Plus gets access to dynamic lighting. Um, but if you are a pro subscriber, possibly a Plus subscriber, I'm not sure, you get access to dynamic lighting, which allows you to go in and set your players so that they can't see around walls. Now, most of Gabriel Picard's maps line up real nice with this 2.5 by 2.5 grid, to where you can just hold down Shift, left click, and it'll automatically align it to the grid here. And so you can go right along the grid, right along the wall, and just set your dynamic lighting edges by left clicking while holding Shift, and then you hit escape to start a new one. So now I come back over here, escape, this little, oh, oops, so you just hit Control Z. Apparently my escape did not work. All right, so now we come back over here and hit this little thing. Escape. Get this wall up here. And you see, I'm trying to only get where the wall is and leave all of the squares that are open actually open, so that the effect will be that essentially they can only see where there isn't a wall. And you can see this wall doesn't quite line up, but it'll be okay. And then I'm just going through and hitting all of these walls so that they can't just run through a wall and they can't see through a wall. It provides natural, like, cover and blinds and all of that. Now the hard part. You can see that we have a little bit of a circle here, and the circle most certainly does not line up with the grid. Um, all these squares make a circle. Little Dragon Ball Z abridged for you guys. But what you can do is just click, and then you just click along the circle bit by bit. And it won't be perfect, but if you keep your distances short, it'll be good enough. So we just, oops, that one was a little long. We just kind of click, click, click through. And anytime you make a mistake, just Control Z and keep plugging away, because as long as it's roughly circular, it'll look fine. And then again, you just hit escape. And now you'll see there's these little square columns. If you select draw shape, you can literally just draw a square right around them. If you hold Alt, you can draw a circle. Now, what I like to do with squares that are all the same size like this is I go back up to the mouse and click select move, and then I copy and paste that by clicking on the center of the square and then just Control V. So anywhere I see that square, I just go ahead and click the center and click Control V. Oh, a bit of a tricky one here. They're turned slightly askew. So let's see if I can turn these. No. So let me try something else. Delete that. And now I go back to polygon line, and I'm just going to trace the square. And then I should be able to select that, paste it right on there. So you'll see I use the zoom tool to zoom in. You can do that. It just makes your job a little easier. But now you'll see I have all my dynamic lighting set up. So we go to the objects and tokens. Now we're going to set up some NPCs quick. So, most DMs like to run combat encounters at least, half of the time, maybe even a little more. So it's important to, have your NPCs set up, and, for me, it's important that they look good. To that end, I go to rolladvantage.com/token stamp, and I make all my tokens here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is click on this circle and choose the frame that you think looks best for your tokens. They have a whole bunch of different ones. Me, I like Abstract Ring 1. And then all of my NPCs get a red border ring. And this makes the token just pop. So I've decided that this encounter is going to be with some wolves, goblins, and orcs. They're going to be guarding this fortress. So I drag and drop my wolf picture onto the token, download that, and then without having to do anything else, I can grab my goblin, download that, and then my orc. and download that. So now I have all three of the enemies that they're going to be encountering loaded up as tokens. I'm on the objects and tokens page, and all you have to do is, and you can do this from your folder if you don't have this download bar, or you can do it straight from the download bar if you do, and all you do is drag and drop your tokens right onto the map. Now, before I go any further, what I like to do is set the dimensions right away. If you're using the 2.5 foot grid like I am, you need to set the dimensions for twice what they would be. If you're using a 5 foot grid, you just set them for what they should be. It's 70 by 70 for a medium character, so 140 by 140. And then because the goblins are small, I set them as 70 by 70. And the wolf is also large, I think. So because it's large, we set it by 280. And we'll verify that the wolf is large, but we'll get to that. So now we open up our little chat bar on the side here. We open up our journal, click on Add Character. Now we have a character. We click on NPC so that it opens up our drag and drop options. And we go over to our compendium, this little I right here, and we type in wolf. And then you'll see a bunch of wolves pop up. We drag and drop that onto there. Oh, it is only medium. Okay. And now you'll see we have the wolf stats all set up along with the list of its traits and attacks. So now you can reference this sheet anytime, but we're not done yet. We exit out of that, make sure that the wolf is set to the right dimensions, which should be 140. And now we double click on the wolf, select the wolf, show nameplate. That way everybody can see in case you have a monster that they're unfamiliar with. I mean, obviously a wolf they should be able to tell. Hit points are 11, so I set the hit points right here on bar 1, and I do not use the drop down to select the hit points because if you have multiples, it'll change it for all of them. So instead, I just put 11 out of 11 in there. Then I click so that the players can see the name and they can see bar 1. So they can tell roughly how many hit points the wolf has left. Then I save changes and I click on edit for the character sheet and I use the selected token. Then I go over here to my art library and I drag and drop the wolf token art onto the avatar, and now every time I do anything with the wolf, anything I click on for his sheet will pop up on the side with the little wolf icon on it. So if I make like a strength save over here in the chat, oh, no, it's got the GM. Should be the wolf. Not sure why it's not the wolf. But when you do the initiative, it will have the wolf's icon and all of that. No, I'm not sure why it's not doing it. Anyway, we go back to the compendium, add another character. Again, click on NPC sheet, and now we're going to add a goblin. Once again, you can see all of the stats have been filled out. All of the actions are listed down here. and you can reference this anytime. We do have to close it out because it won't let you edit it after you've changed the information like that. But now we can select Goblin, show nameplate. I forgot to remember how many hit points the goblins have. 7. 7 out of 7 hit points. Save changes. And now last. Oh, edit the character sheet. Use selected token. Grab the art. And now we got a nice ugly goblin ready to go. And last but certainly not least, the orc. So we add one more character. Remembering to click on NPC sheet. Orc. Drag and drop. They have 15 hit points. I'll remember that this time. Double click on the token. Select orc. Show nameplate. 15 hit points. And then I'm actually going to click on... Oh, no, I'm not going to do that just yet. I'll do that in a little bit just to show you. First, we finish editing the orc. Use selected token. Grab the token art. And I like to set the edited and controlled by the Dungeon Master. Save changes. And now you can see that when you go to your compendium, you can grab a goblin and drag it right onto the screen, and it'll be small sized like it should be. The orc will be medium sized, as will the wolf. So now we delete the tokens that we set up, and we can have as many tokens as we want. We can copy and paste them. We can drag and drop them. But I'm going to set this orc to have vision real quick so that I can show you what line of sight looks like. So you can see that even though it's bright day out, he cannot see past any of the squares that we've set the dynamic lighting up on. But if I move around a little, I can. So it just gives a level of verisimilitude to the game if you happen to have the pro account. If you don't have a pro account, then, unfortunately, you won't be able to access this, but yeah. So there you go. You now have a game set up, a map set up, complete with dynamic lighting, and your tokens set up. On our next session, our next episode, I will be going over some of the more advanced features, such as setting up custom macros and having those available as token options. Just some of the things that can make your life a lot easier. We'll probably go over API scripts at the same time, and yeah, it'll be very informative. If you guys want to go ahead and hit like and subscribe, I'll continue to get you up to speed on Roll20 as the days and weeks go by here. We're all kind of sheltering down right now, and there's no better time to get online and play some D&D. So thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me, and as always, good gaming.